Greetings, everyone. This is the next session of the Enrichment Week, organized for the University of Derby students studying masters in big data analytics and also mathematics and also computer science. Our next speaker is Eve Hedderwick, a Maths at Derby alumni. Eve had a very rich student experience. She was the first president of the new Maths Society, after being, when the society was resurrected during a calculus session on the last day of when it was possible to apply to revive the society. Then Eve also was the first student in mathematics who traveled abroad with Erasmus. And she traveled to Alba Iulia for one semester. Then she traveled to Slovenia. Then in her second year, she won the URSS bursary. This is the undergraduate research scholarship scheme of the university. Then we traveled together with Rich, with Nicholas and Eve to an international conference in Alba Iulia. That was memorable. I had so many good friends made with that occasion. And then Eve graduated with the first, and then she's now working for the Met Office. So Eve, thank you very much for joining us today. We are very, and also I have to say that Eve gave the vote of thanks for the College of Engineering and Technology in 2018 with a very memorable speech. This was supposed to be censored. Actually, it was quite heavily censored by the registry. But Eve stuck to the script, and yes, she delivered one of the most memorable speeches I've ever heard in my time here. So thank you very much for doing that. And then also thank you very much for joining us today to share your experiences during the university and also after graduation with our students. So Eve, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Okaduki. I'm going to go. Okay, so thank you very much, Ovidiu. For the wonderful introduction. It's very kind of you. So as you know, my name is Eve. I'm currently working at the Met Office, not to be confused with the Met Police. So we did go through this initially. I wanted to hear a bit about yourself, sort of what backgrounds you have, where you've been through, just so I can tailor this a bit better. So I think a lot of you, I'm going to assume a lot of you are still in education throughout most of your life, if you've done any part-time jobs, any full-time jobs. So I just really want to focus on how to tailor this presentation a bit better for you. Okay. As you said, thank you very much, Ovidiu. So I had quite a glitzy CV from University Derby. I did a lot of things, you know, as I said, undergraduate research, Erasmus. I've been abroad, travelled, the Maths Conference, Maths Society, lots of glitzy things on my CV. So this definitely did help me down the line get a nice job. Where I'm at now, it's a fantastic job. But I think after leaving university, I did make a few mistakes, and I just want to share mistakes that I've done so that hopefully you don't repeat these mistakes that I've done. And this is the speech. Okay. So it took me about 1.5 years to get a proper graduate job. Admittedly, I did have some home life problems as well, but it sort of struck my ego a little bit to take it so long, like 1.5 years to get it. It's quite a while. It does hurt the ego. So it just 2018, approximately 49% of people aged between 30 to 34 in the UK have obtained the degree. This is the 11th highest in Europe. So it can be quite a challenge to get into a graduate role. So don't be surprised if you leave university and you don't fall straight into a job. If you're not in your final year at the moment, I don't know where you are, just remember that job applications start opening in sort of September to December. Don't leave it until after you finish university. You've got to start applying in your final year in the first semester straight away. So in my mind, it was sort of like, oh, complete university, that's job's done, I'll start on the next thing. It's a routinely changing cycle, like your laundry. You might have your whites in for the wash, you've got your darks piling up. It's continually rolling. So for me, my mistake looking for a job, I felt pretty down about it as well. I felt like I wasn't making the most of my degree. I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. I ended up in jobs, for example, in a recruitment department or the HR department for a law firm, and this was very stressful. It did not play on my strengths at all. I don't want to sound too bleak about this sort of role, but work, 42.5 hours a week of work, it's quite a large proportion of your life. So on its own, it's about a quarter. If you take in things like commuting to work, which may not be possible, for example, I now work from home, so I don't need to commute anymore, but cooking, things around your life, it can take up to a third. And if you take away the time that you're sleeping, that you're unconscious, it takes up to a third to half your life. So you really want to be working where it's something you enjoy, that you like and you do enjoy. So I wasted my time pretty much applying for jobs, graduate jobs, but in the wrong area. And for me, that was a waste of time and energy, because you've got sort of like a graduate entry job which requires a high demand of energy or knowledge, but going against the grain of what I enjoy. I actually found that I was happier working in Costa, because I could keep things clean and organised, and it was a lot more fun to be working on your feet than it was to be working in an office. So big thing I want to stress is, don't worry, don't be hard on yourself if you don't get a job after university straight away. It's also, for a lot of you, I don't know if you don't have kids or something, if you're an older student, this is also a time of your life perhaps where you don't have a lot of responsibility. So it's a good time to make this opportunity to go out and practice your weaknesses, do something fun, go traveling. So again, I want to stress, don't worry if you don't get a graduate job first time round. Would suggest saying confine looking for a job to a set time, so like 1 or 2 hours every day or every other day. So this is the time I'm going to apply for jobs, and keep on applying for jobs if this is what you want, but don't let it sort of eat away at you. Just compartmentalize it, say I'm not going to worry outside this time, and just keep it in that nice little bubble. I did also want to sort of illustrate how much work takes of your life. So I did not enjoy working in Bristol in the HR department. It didn't align with my ethics, didn't align with what I wanted to do. As you can see, working is a huge part of your life, and you do something that you're happy about, that you enjoy. So I want to take a minute as well, just for you to reflect and think about, what do you do? What are your favourite subjects? Why are they your favourite subjects? What assignments do you did? So how do you enjoy working? Do you like to talk? Do you like to write? Do you like to investigate things? What drives and motivates you? So for example, you could be very into money. You could go out there and want to earn big bucks. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. You could probably, put up with working 60-hour weeks in London, commuting, working really hard. If that makes you happy to get the money, that could be for you. Or you could be somebody a bit more relaxed, somebody who wants to, cares more about the environment or something. You might want to work for a charity because that aligns with your core values. So I do want to stress that these 3 things perhaps will help you guide you into a job that you're going to enjoy. Anyway, so the first interview went pretty well. It was a bit of a commute to get to, but the people seemed nice. It was an okay job. The second one was in London. It was a very long time, about 5 hours on the coach down there, pretty bad. And the interview was awful. He turned up late. He didn't read my CV. I asked him questions. He was very awkward. We were interrupted 2 or 3 times. So I just want to say, there are things that you should learn as well. Interviews are a two-way thing. They're interviewing you for the job, but also have the confidence that you are interviewing them for being an employer. I don't want to work there for somebody who's going to treat their employees with such disrespect. So if he didn't have time, 2 minutes to skim over my CV before he interviewed me, that's not somewhere you want to be going. That's not somebody who's going to respect you. So lessons learned: always claim back your traveling expenses, and yes, make sure it is a two-way street. You're interviewing them as much as you're interviewing yourself. Sorry. So again, one thing I do want to stress: if you don't get your dream graduate job right away, that is fine. I spent too much of my time worrying about not getting the right job, applying for ones that I didn't really like, just in the hopes that I would sort of get there. Do always keep a lookout for jobs and do keep on applying. As I say, it is fine. It's okay. Look after your mental health. It's fine if you don't get a job straight away. I was going to touch on interview techniques. I don't know how much or how familiar you are with sort of employment help. So if you've got access, you've got the Student Employment Agency, who should hopefully run things through you. All my good interviews I've done, I've always used this technique. So whenever you're applying for a job application, they're going to have essential criteria that you must meet, and a good way to make sure that you prove you meet this essential criteria is to follow this this structure. Also in interviews as well, if they ask you a question, they're going to ask you sort of simple things like give us a time when you team worked. This is a very simple structure to follow, especially if you're panicking. You can rely on this. You can go through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's pretty good. I also learnt, I don't know, do I need to run through any more interview stuff, or is everybody okay with this sort of thing? I'll leave it as that.
I think it's very useful. You can go through this.
Okay, that's fine then. So first of all, yes, so job application, as I mentioned, Carl, they're going to have essential criteria for the job, and you want to make sure that you can prove you can meet all those essential criteria or additional criteria as well. This is a good method to explain and present yourself. For the interview, for preparations, always make sure you have questions to ask the panel. If you're engaging with them, they're going to remember you better, and you can come across as more thoughtful and engaging. Also on the day, make sure you're dressed smartly, obviously. Don't feel scared if you need the interviewers to repeat a question as well. Take a minute or so just to think about it, that's fine. Switch off your phone if you need to, and just smile and talk. Especially, we had a group interview for the Met Office, so make sure you interact with other people if they're there too. If you have any tests on the interview as well, I think it goes without saying, make sure you do try to practice as much as possible before the interview. So I've done a few Ravens tests before. You can do those online, or just sort of swat up on maths. For example, we had a maths test for the Met Office. Make sure you swat up on that. Biggest criteria as well, part of the CAR technique. Always ask for feedback. Always follow up and ask, why didn't I get this job? What could I have done differently to get this job? What would have made the difference? So always learn from the experience. Every experience is always a learning opportunity. Okay. It's actually while I was looking through to apply for GORS, a Governmental Operational Research Service, that I came across the Met Office. It was a job posting on sort of the government board. I thought, oh, this would be perfect, because this ties in with my sort of love for chaos theory and sort of calculus. I always had a general interest in clouds and flying as well. So I thought, this would be fantastic. I'll definitely go for this. And I took all those important points, and I thankfully I did get through on the day. And don't worry if you mess up. I think I called one of my interviewers' name wrong. I think I called her Rachel. Her name was Anne. So you can mess up. It's fine. They know you're going to be nervous. I'll talk a bit about the Met Office as well. It's a fantastic nerdy place. It's sort of got a vibe of like a university, big HQ with the supercomputers and all the data scientists here. I'm sure you're equally happy and excited about it. They've got a new supercomputer coming out as well. Which they're investing about £1.2 billion in the project, and 100% renewable energy as well, which is fantastic. And it can do more than 60 petaflops or 60 quadrillion calculations per second, which is very cool. Very, very cool. I saw the current supercomputer there, the Cray XE40 there is actually split into thirds. 1/3 of it is on the Devon side, and then 2/3 of it is on the Dorset side because it consumes so much power. They can't have it all in one county because it's just too much load on the grid. A bit of yeah. It's very cool, very cool office. I'm sure I don't need to explain what the Met Office does. We don't control the weather, we just forecast it. So yeah, we have this big old supercomputer that sort of yeah, it's we run ensemble displays, so we sort of take in lots of data, assimilate lots of data currently from synopts, METARs, airplanes, satellites. We take it in, we process it, and we try and give an output. Due to the nature of the chaotic nature of weather, we run ensemble forecasts. So we sort of run about 36 different variations, different starting points from the data, and we run them forward into the future, and this eventually will give different outcomes. But our job as forecasts, we have the chief forecaster, they will say, this is the story, this is the most probable outcome, we're going with this. And as our jobs as OMTs, we sort of listen to what they're saying and take on further details and go from there. This is quite cool. I sort of very enamored by the sort of fancy product we use. So we've got a satellite imagery on your left, the radar, and our shrews, so this is all pretty much the same time period. It's an occluded front yesterday, moving north-northeast over the British Isles, and you can see it's bringing rain with it as well. So the one on the right is how much rainfall which is coming down, because the middle one, the radar, it can be falling rain, but not necessarily always reach the ground. So the shrews just sort of help consolidate the fact that it has actually rained here, it has reached the ground. It's very clever. So we do things that we write the scripts for the website, which goes up. So if you type in Met Office, if you scroll down, get your local forecast, there'll be a little blurb about a 5-day forecast for your area, for your region, and that'll be us writing it. We also get to look at some cool little facts as well. So we have the National Climate Information Centre, NCIC. The Met Office loves their acronyms. So we also get to do a lot of number crunching and stats as well. So last month, April 2021, you might have heard it was the lowest average minimum temperature for April, so pretty much the coldest April in the past 100 years. Also the sunniest, and this month as well has been incredibly wet. Wales has already reached its first wettest month on record since records began, I think, since 1862, and as of yesterday, 207.4 millimeters have fallen across the region, which is about 242% of its monthly average. So we also get to do, we also get to work in cool number crunching areas like this. As I say, a lot of this is all just due to being in the right place at the right time, always looking for jobs and good job postings, but also being interested in the application of maths. I probably wouldn't have come across this if I didn't take an interest outside of it as well. And that definitely came through in the interview, because running around on the interview day, they had this Lorenz tractor poster stuck up. And I pointed it out, like, that's so cool, because this is fundamentally where the modern day numerical weather forecasting came from. It's basically from chaos theory and computer science. It's a very, very cool place to work for. I will poke in here as well. If you do have any interest in working for the Met Office, there are industrial placements if you're not in your final year, and there's also the graduate entry role as well. Opportunities for graduates has now closed. They're back in January, February time when they open. Needed to, and also an extreme interest in weather or climate as well. One of the questions they asked us, one of the first questions you came in, we asked you all set up and ready, is to go, what's the weather doing at the moment? Your heart sinks. I'm ready here. I revise about occlusions and fronts and what's a cumulus cloud, and oh, what's going on? Oh, yes, that's definitely threw me off. but definitely good practice. Okay, so I know I've breezed through this quite quickly. There's 3 things I sort of wanted to really stress in this mini presentation is keep on applying for jobs. You have to apply sooner than you realise. Unfortunately, like me, I rested on my laurels and thought, oh, I could just breeze into any graduate job. But you do have to keep on applying. The hard work's not over yet. But if you don't get a job, it's fine. Don't stress. Make the most of it. Make the most of not having that responsibility on you for the time. And remember, just to keep on learning. It is all a cycle. I'm continuously learning in the Met Office. And even if you're not in employment, keep on learning, have a hobby, keep your options open.
Eve, thank you very much for an excellent presentation, and also for passing your experience with all these items. And I think especially your struggles, because I think if you don't go through struggles, then you cannot give much advice, I think. So
I think there's a saying that you only ever learn when you're failing. So if you're failing, it's fine, you're learning.